I'm Nick,
And I'm Ricky.
and welcome to the Demand Gen Daily Podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, ask us questions. That's how we're kicking off today. But today's topic is 5 reasons you've hit a plateau in results. And we're going to take a little bit of a different angle today and maybe talk about a few things why your team isn't hitting those marketing results. So if you are in charge of a team, if you are the manager, or you are the subject matter expert that is helping others achieve a certain goal, this is the episode for you. So we're going to kick off with number 1, lack of awareness. So when you think about any kind of limit against some sort of opportunity, sometimes we know that there's something blocking this, or that we need to put more emphasis in certain areas, or we have an epiphany where we get it. So like we've completed and very good marketers are generally a combination of a little bit creative, and also these like tinkerers where they're puzzle solvers. The problem with that generally though is that when you solve the puzzle, you're like, awesome, I solved the puzzle. And then you, for some reason, think that everybody else knows. But if no one else knows, they too cannot also fix the puzzle because only you have the answer. Cascading that down creates that awareness. And by having that awareness, those other people can then actually work towards the same thing that you're working towards, because now they see it as well.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think also when we're talking about a plateau in results, this is all about reporting as well. If you don't have the systems in place to tell you what's the trend, you're not going to know where you stand. So you need to have really good reporting, weekly, daily, it depends on your data volume, or monthly reporting. And that's going to give you that awareness that, okay, there is a problem. We've hit a plateau, or maybe it's going down, but now you're going to see it.
Absolutely. The next one is lack of recognition or agreement to the importance of something. So how this works, you understand that something might be important, or somebody on your team might understand that something's important, but there isn't consensus among the team of how important, right? So you see this in a lot of projects that are multidisciplinary. So it goes from creative to digital, and then strategy needs to sign off, and everybody has these competing priorities. So certain people will do the work very quickly because they think this initiative is very important. And then it gets handed off to the next team, and the next team's, yeah, we'll get around to that. But they don't even say that. They're just like, yep, thank you, get back to you when it's done. All of a sudden, work stops. And the important things now stop getting done. Yeah. So the important thing here is to create consensus among whether you're looking at something like, let's imagine like a blocker, like you've looked at your online funnel and that there's like a very specific blocker on your mid funnel, and you recognize it's like, we need to fix this. This is the initiative. You push it out, but other people might be still really focused on the top of the funnel. Like, oh, we need to like iterate, and we need to pump out this new creative, and we need to come up with new campaigns, and there's this new niche we need to try, and all of these things. But you recognize, you're like, look, my conversion rate can go from 3 to 5% potentially at this mid funnel point. I don't care if you fill my top of funnel by double, because if I double my conversion, it's not even going to cost me any more media spend. So it's actually more important. But getting alignment on that, again, on how important that is, I always recommend to people, all of your initiatives, whether you're like, it depends on your project methodology, rank order them. How important is each one? And then have regular meetings with the team so that they understand what are the bottlenecks and how important is each one, and what the potential upside monetarily is of fixing these.
Yeah, this is where you can really waste a lot of time, spending time working on things that have a ton of diminishing returns. You could be working to improve something that if you do improve it, you're not going to get much of a return. Meanwhile, maybe everybody else is on a different page about what is actually important about driving results. So you have to get clear. And at this point, so you've got awareness of the problem. You've also recognized potentially and agreed to the importance of the issue and what aspects of it are important. What comes next, Nick?
So after those two, lack of perceived time. And so this is again, is this also part of the how important is it? Like the previous step, a little bit, because we know the age old adage, there is time for everything that you find important. However, there are times where, for example, like coming into Black Friday or coming into like big campaign season, there might legitimately not be time, or at least the perception of it. So this is where going through people's calendars, like and getting very granular on it and saying, can we carve this out 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, next week, whatever it is. Start filling people's calendar time with focus time to work
Mm.
on this opportunity to beat that plateau comes into play.
And one of the common challenges when it comes to perceived time is organization. So if you are well organized as a team and individually, you're going to be able to create the time that you need to focus on those important things. So if you basically are coming into something like Black Friday and you are completely disorganized, then you will not find the time to do the things that are important.
Yeah. And up next, we have a lack of skills or how to. So, look, all of these kind of fit together in a strange way. So, lack of perceived time, lack of skills or know how. What happens when you don't know how to do something really well? It takes a long time. So, whenever somebody says, hey, like this, I don't have time to do this, the first question I generally try to ask people is, how long do you think this task is? Just give me an estimate, right? Because if I've seen other people do that task, if I have experience in that area or know somebody that has experience in that area, I can ask them, like, look, it's like this thing we're trying to deploy. Like, how long do you think it is? It's, oh, it's 10 hours. Oh, interesting. Because this person just told me that it would probably take them 30. So,
Mhm.
whenever you see gaps like that, either A, the context is off, number one. But if it isn't, it's generally a skills gap, and that person requires training on this thing because the better you are at something, not only the better you do it, but the faster you do it as well.
Yeah, and this might also be a case where sometimes that lack of skills, it's not just about going and watching a video on YouTube or going and reading a blog. Some of these skills are developed over years of experience working with enough data and enough campaigns and enough different scenarios. So some of these skills are developed over time. So you may be missing some of the critical skills where, you've been able to get to a certain point, but to get to that next level, you just don't have the skills personally or within your team. And that's okay because you likely have a lot of things that you're doing that are maintaining the system at to the point where it's at currently. But this is where you might need to either speak to an agency, speak to a consultant, speak to somebody in the field that might have a greater level of experience and that skill set that you can basically speak to them, bounce some ideas off of them, potentially bring them into support if it's needed to bridge that gap.
Absolutely. And then the last one, lack of interest or blatant apathy. This is the not so nice one. Sometimes there's some key initiatives out there to try to break through that plateau, and you have a team member that just doesn't care. Either they're checked out, they don't think it's important at all, and it's just blatant apathy. So like they're walking out the door, and you just don't know it. All of a sudden, they're holding up this project because they're working 20 hours instead of 40 or whatever their schedule is. So that's on the blatant apathy side. On the lack of interest, it could be that they also think it's important. They're just not
Mhm.
interested in it. So it makes its way down their to-do list and it goes from the top down to the middle, down to the bottom because they say it's important, but I'm convincing myself that these other things are more important because they're actually more interesting for that person. So if you have a bigger team, this means finding a new home for that outsourcing bid, potentially giving that person that work that they're interested in, or using the work that that person likes to do as a reward mechanism. Hey, I know this stuff. I know you don't like it, but you're good at it. Can you please help us out here? And right behind that, let's focus on a project that you enjoy doing. And that's how you can unlock that step.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's been an excellent overview of the 5 reasons you may have hit a plateau.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Till next time.